Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. So, we had our final open to the media OTA, second and final OTA session. Soak it in, folks, because it's the dry season. It feels good, though, man. We're going to go over all this stuff, but as I said before, I just encourage you to get on social media, especially on X over here. And there's lists of people you can follow. They've compiled lists of all the beat writers or whatever, but just go through there. They're taking all kinds of videos. You can see Anthony Belton working, just a big boy, putting in work. All kinds of awesome stuff on here. So, again, we'll go through everything. In fact, what I want to do today, a little bit different than last time, I want to read through the tweets as they happen. Then we'll do kind of a overall recap. And then third is sort of like what was different. I'm not saying those are necessarily the three sections, but those are the three things I want to get accomplished. And we'll kind of see where that leaves us. Again, if you haven't, go check out, draftflix.com. Again, there's not much there right now. I just kind of want you guys to check it out, give me some feedback and whatnot. I'm kind of just wanting to get it ready for draft season, which really phase one of draft season is going to be the 2025 college football season. And then when tape starts to come out, I want to make sure, boom, 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 we're getting them on there. But in the meantime, let's work out some of the bugs. Let me know what you think. Get signed up, by the way. Go make an account. It's free to make an account. I'm not charging you for that. So that'll just be kind of a way for me to see who's all there and whatnot. We'll get this thing ready for draft season. It's going to be a good one. I know I kind of did it with my son in mind because he likes watching the YouTube videos and whatnot, and I always have to go grab a video and then compile it and everything else. And I've got it set up now where you can look at each person and you can see like their whole week 1, week 2, week 3, and all that stuff. It's organized. So anyways, go check it out. Packers Games is still there if you need to see how many days or something until the game. I don't know. It's just sitting there. Go hang out over there. All right. There was also Matt LaFleur and then some players that spoke to the media as well. We'll go through all that stuff. So, again, I'm not going to list off every single person that tweeted these out, so I'll just do in the beginning, big thank you to all the people that are there covering the team. I think the Green Bay Packers fans have some of the best media coverage. I wouldn't be able to do this every year, not only to consume it, but also to give it to you for content as a Packers fan, without the crew that's down there live tweeting every step a guy takes, which I appreciate. But right out of the gate, Brandon McManus is back at OTAs. Practice gets started in about 10 minutes. So McManus was out the last time. Now, remember, there's been a lot of practices. There was a practice, and then we got to see one, and then there was another practice, and then there was another practice, and then we get to see one, and they'll have another one, I think, in 2 days. So we're just getting little glimpses. For all we know, McManus missed 1 day, and it just happened to be that day. No idea. But whatever crisis we thought there might be officially averted. No sign of Elton Jenkins or Jair at practice. Didn't see John Williams again either. Savion Williams still wearing the red non-contact jersey. I don't know if we've got an answer on that yet as to why that's happening. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. Fitzpatrick, Brinson, Jade Silvera, Oliver still with the rehab group from what it looks like. Tyron Herring back at practice today after missing last week. And then, maybe the most exciting. I was surprised how excited everybody was, and they were watching him like crazy because I've been talking nonstop about him. Marshawn Lloyd is back at practice. Andy Herman says our long national nightmare might just be over. Marquez Eversole, Marshawn Lloyd in pads today after missing last week's OTAs, and then there's just a ton of pictures and videos of this guy. So that was good to see because I've been wanting to get a look at him. Bill Huber says, not seen today. Quay Walker, Hobbs for personal reasons. Jair, Trey Hill, John Williams, Elton Jenkins, and then Watson, Oliver, Silvera. We went through a couple of these guys already. And then Huber says, as I hit send, Fitzpatrick is running onto the field. Mecole Hardman, Golden, and Nixon catching kickoffs to start practice. Some players working kick return, Amar Johnson, Matthew Golden, Mecole Hardman, Sam Brown, Jalen White, Keyshawn Nixon, Cornelius Johnson, Bo Melton. Josh Jacobs was back there observing but didn't take a rep. One interesting player who was not was Savion Williams, which I think makes sense. He's not doing much with that red jersey. Like, for example, he's running routes, but he's not catching passes. Actually, that's not true. He did catch a pass. The last time he didn't. I don't know what the rules are or why he's doing what he's doing or not doing what he's doing, but that may be something to do with it. Nixon, Hardman, Goldman seeming to be getting primary deep options. Yeah, Matthew Golden running routes. A lot of praise today for Matthew Golden. Again, they're not doing much, but usually at the end they kind of do their recaps and they're talking through some stuff. And 2 out of 2 days now, there's been recaps of, I know it's slow. I know there's no pads. I get all that, but still, he looks fill in the blank. Usually smooth. I think the thing today, a lot of people pointed out, very natural hands catcher type of thing. Again, we got to see this thing in live action, but so far, he's passed the test with flying colors. Sam Brown Jr., by the way, the new wide receiver just got picked up. They gave him number 17, which is pretty hilarious. No, it's not disrespectful to Devontae. Somebody's got to wear the freaking thing. There's just a lot of people right now. Nobody's going to be wearing that on game day. I am blanking on who we just got rid of. Please hold. Janke. So Janke is on the way out. It was a injury designation or whatever. They waived him, cut him. I don't know. Brought in wide receiver Sam Brown Jr. Got a little race to the quarterback drill. They showed a couple drills here with the new defensive line coach, Covington. This seems to be one of them. They line up and they race to Covington, and the first one to slap his hand wins. He points to that side. The interesting thing about this, he's got a couple cool drills that are interesting in and of itself, but the drill right now that I'm looking at that they took a video of is Lucas Van Ness against Brenton Cox. Lucas Van Ness is significantly bigger than Brenton Cox. Lucas Van Ness wins this race. So it's just really cool to see because you got to remember why the guy got drafted where he did. It doesn't mean he's going to be good, but the guy is just such a freak. He looks like he's, 40% bigger than Brenton Cox. And he's just shot out of a cannon and gets there so easily and so quickly. Same with the other drill. They showed another drill that they're going through with Covington. And, again, just the way he pushes the sled like it's not even there. I probably couldn't get the freaking thing off the ground. He's like going slow, like through his technique, almost kind of like, you mean like this? Like where I turn my body a little bit? Kind of this little, It's not like he's trying to blow the thing up. He's going slowly through the motions and it just happens to explode. It's like, oh, please be good at football, man. It's kind of how I feel about Belton right now, where it's like, man, I don't know. Maybe he's going to be good. Maybe he's going to be bad. I don't know. But if this guy hits, jeez, he's just a monster. Same with Rashawn Gary. I just saw the one drill of him. This is kind of the cool thing, too, when you see guys that are, you see the Brenton Coxes and the Aaron Mosbys and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, okay, all right, you see how it goes. And then you watch Rashawn Gary go through these drills, and granted, we've watched him go through this 1,000 times. He'd probably drilled this 1,000 times per off season. The bat the arm, get around the corner thing, but the speed that this guy has around the corner is really impressive. You can just tell it's a different level. Like Baron Sorrell is not doing that. There's a video on here, by the way, of Matthew Golden. And again, it's so stupid, but at the same time, you can't help but get excited because you watch certain things and they're running these 2 different routes, right? You got 2 quarterbacks out there, you got 2 receivers, and they're each running different routes. I think, I don't know what the outside one is, if it's an out or an out and up or whatever. But they've got the far receiver running a slant. And I know I've said Matthew Golden, as far as the eye test or whatever, he didn't seem super fast. He looks quick and sharp in those little slant routes, man. I mean, we'll see if he can beat guys down the field. I don't know, but man, you get him off the line just hitting that slant route, that could be a killer right there. By the way, it was also noted that Matthew Golden has been wearing the Guardian cap. I don't think there's anything to that, right? Romeo Dobbs also is wearing the Guardian cap. He's had issues with concussions, and I don't think it's mandatory. I think that's his choice. And so I'm guessing it's the same with Matthew Golden. I'm guessing it's optional for anybody if they want to wear the Guardian cap for extra protection, and he's opted to do so. That's my assumption. I don't know. But worth noting, that is a thing. Colin Oliver getting some time outside at defensive end and walkthroughs. He's been with the rehab group. Mecole Hardman, Jaden Reed, and Matthew Golden practicing as punt returners today. Before it was kick. So swap out Keyshawn and Jaden Reed, and you still got Hardman and Goldman working on punt and kick, right? Jaden is your punt guy. Keyshawn is your kick guy. With Nate Hobbs not here, Javon Bullard is working as the nickel with the ones. I know I went on a big thing with that, I don't know, yesterday, today, whatever. Look, when you're short, you got to do what you got to do. I don't know who else you put in that spot, right? Jair's not here. Hobbs isn't here. Like I said, I even said this, I think, last night on Packernet After Dark. If you're down 2 guys, fine, Bullard has to go in there. I would just prefer he stays, So in terms of, does that mean they still want to keep him at nickel? Not necessarily, because that would mean if Jair comes back, he's probably the number 3 nickel. Because I think it's Hobbs, and then it's Keyshawn. Well, why isn't Keyshawn there now? Because they don't have another boundary guy. If Jair was there, you could put Jair and Valentine on the boundary and Keyshawn in the slot. Without Jair, Keyshawn stays out there and Bullard goes into the slot. That's my thought. Maybe they just see him as a slot guy and that's where they want to keep him. I don't really know. But I think being down 2 slot, no, kind of 2 slot guy, whatever. Being down to where they are right now is forcing the issue one way or another. No Quay Walker, so Isaiah Simmons getting some snaps with the ones. So that was one of the interesting storylines of today. Matt LaFleur talked about, do not read anything into this. It's just kind of a matter of, it's not a big deal. But I'll read a little bit into it. They do swap it out a little bit later, but it's interesting to see kind of who's getting some opportunities here. And obviously they're not that it's surprising, but they're giving Isaiah Simmons a legitimate shot to be that dude. Right, so with Walker not in, you're looking at what? Edgerrin Cooper, McDuffie, and then it's kind of a question of who's that number 4. Now, I would like it if somebody could beat McDuffie. I don't know if it's going to happen. That would be my preference. But right now, the question is who's the number 4. And so Isaiah Simmons is being given a very legitimate shot at taking that job away from Tyron Hopper. That's kind of the battle right now. And they're getting some good looks, again, with Quay Walker not there, so... All right, I'll tell you what, why don't we take a break? We got a lineup here with the team drills coming up, so we'll get to run through that, and that'll be that. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so the initial setup for offense and defense, the offensive line, you got Walker, Banks, Monk, Ryan, Tom. So... same initial setup as last time. Rashid retains that spot, at least for now, at left tackle. Banks is going to be the left guard. Monk is filling in as the backup center to Elton Jenkins, who's out. Sean Ryan has retained the right guard spot, again, for now. And then Zach Tom is the right tackle. Jordan Love at quarterback, Jacobs as the running back. And then one of the changes here, Golden and Dobbs as the 1-2. So they've been running a ton of 12 personnel, which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends. And when you do that, you only have 2 wide receivers out there. So Reed will likely be off the field, and it's going to be your top 2 receivers. Golden was not initially a part of this group last time we saw that. Now he is. Again, this doesn't mean anything is solidified, but that's exactly what you want to see with all these things, just like I'd like to see mobility with our first and second round picks the last 2 years of offensive linemen getting more opportunities. And you'll see it today, but more opportunities at left tackle and right guard, and eventually usurping, supplanting, whatever word you prefer, the guys that are there. Not a big deal that it is what it is now. This is all walkthrough bull crap. It's not a big deal. But as training camp comes, as day 1, 2, 3, 4, as we get down the line and these things start happening, that transition is going to be something to keep an eye on. The 2 tight ends, again, 12 personnel, Musgrave and Kraft. I saw one of the comments was funny here. Musgrave is over Kraft? It's like, no, dude, I think it's just, he's just listing the 2. It's not really a ranking. But Musgrave's out there. He's been healthy, knock on wood. One of the things that's very obvious, we always talk about his speed. His size is also incredibly impressive. He is such a big dude. Tall, So when you got that size-speed combo, he's such an incredible target. And there's a couple flashes of that in camp. It's something that they want. It's something that they need to open things up for Kraft and Reed and everybody else underneath. He's a field stretcher just like everybody else, just in a different kind of way. Then on the defensive side, starting off, you have Lucas Van Ness, Wyatt Wooden, and Gary to start off. Kenny Clark is still sidelined for now. He's not doing team drills, that is. A little bit on that. Actually, I don't know if it's necessarily pertaining to this, but get to hear a little bit about what he's been going through, kind of new news. But no big surprise. It's good to see that, Lucas has officially been that dude. I know it seems like a no-brainer, but I don't think it was last year. He kind of had to... I mean, granted, Preston was there, but there's no doubt anymore. Lucas is that dude, starting from day one. Get in there and get after it. Wyatt and Wooden, again, the interior guys. Wyatt is obviously in that spot. I think after that it might be rotated, but Wooden would be at the top, if not the dude. Linebacker, Cooper McDuffie Simmons, as we talked about. Simmons getting first crack at that number 4 spot behind McDuffie right now. At corner is Nixon and Valentine on the boundary across from Golden and Dobbs. Safety is Williams and McKinney. All these things are pretty, those things anyways, as far as the DBs right now, are pretty solidified. Even if Jair comes back, I think we know how these things sort out. Again, I don't know where Bullard is. He's probably floating right now as like the number, 3 slot and the number 3 safety, like at the same time. Not my preference, but again, probably what they're doing. But that is the initial setup. So a note from Matt Schneidman says, in base, Cooper McDuffie and Isaiah Simmons are the linebackers with no Quay. Bullard comes in at nickel on second snap. Matthew Golden went in motion around the line on the first snap with the starters. Jordan Morgan at left tackle now after Rasheed Walker started. So very quickly we see, first of all, they get into 3 wide receivers. You got Matthew Golden working on motion. We see who that next nickel is, as we already talked about. But immediately Jordan Morgan's coming in. So this is another thing that was different. I believe, I don't have my notes up here, I believe he was a little bit later rotated in at right guard. Or maybe it was tackle. I don't know. But it took a little bit. This is like 2 snaps and then boom, we got Jordan Morgan getting in there at tackle. And Rasheed, if you look at it, Rasheed is starting. He's the guy right now. But he's still at a massive disadvantage, despite the fact that he's got the job now, despite the fact that he's had the job, he's got the most experience, all of that stuff. He's at a disadvantage because the Packers are going to push Morgan hard. Again, I don't know if he's going to be left tackle, right guard, whatever. Whoever they want, wherever. They're going to push really hard for these guys to be the starters. They didn't draft them early for no reason. They certainly didn't draft them to sit on the bench. So it's kind of a rigged competition. Rasheed can still win it, but it's a pretty rigged competition. Not to mention, obviously, they're much more gifted, which is why you have first and second round guys against the 7th round guy. Andy Herman says, everything Matthew Golden does just looks natural. Routes, catching, returning, just born to do it. A little bit later, Morgan now getting reps with the ones at right guard. So very quickly moved to left tackle, and then very shortly after that, they moved him to right guard. Eversol says, it's hard to be impressive at OTAs, but Matthew Golden's half speed just looks better than most. 7-on-7s, Kalen King with very tight coverage on Jaden Reed on a slant, but Love fits it in, and Reed somehow hung on. Love to Musgrave outside, but didn't see Cooper in the flat, and Cooper skied to knock it away. Jaden Reed slips out of his break, but recovers in time for the catch. Those are 3 different plays. By the way, I know there's that note about Cooper making a good play to knock the ball down and whatnot. It sounds like, I don't know if it was directly said by anybody, but just reading through the notes today, Jordan Love sounds like he's, there's certain guys that are just on it. It's kind of like Rodgers. Again, he threw a lot of picks, whatever. It's not a big deal. Rodgers, it wasn't a matter of like, ooh, how's he looking? Rodgers is just, he's the guy that's going to put pressure on you. You just know that he's that dude. It's kind of like Devontae. You're not worried about how Devontae's Devontae. You don't ask the question of how does Devontae look like? I hope he's going to be. Devontae's good. What a stupid question. The question is, can anybody handle Devontae? How does Jair look against Devontae? That kind of stuff. Jordan is kind of becoming that, where it's like, you're not worried about how, at least for me, going through this, he's the guy that gets it. He knows what to do. He knows where to put the ball. He's going to throw good passes. He's going to do all these. It's a question of, can you handle it? Can you get out there? You got these tight window throws to Jaden Reed and some other really good stuff coming up. But Jordan is, at the same time that I'm like, man, I don't know if he's the guy, but I really hope he is. You're getting that he's the guy vibe from OTAs, where it's not, you don't feel like he's learning or trying to figure it out or he's got to get up to speed. He's the guy that's there, doesn't need to be there, but is a team player, and, this is freaking boring. This is hilarious. Packers just ran a fake field goal in front of the media for the first time I can remember in 6 years. Daniel Whalen rolled out and tried to hit Zach Tom in the flat. No dice. I'm sure they work on this stuff all the time, but in front of the media is pretty wild. Either way, I appreciate it, and I love that we're trying to hit Zach Tom in the flat. As much as these teams worship, Philadelphia, and I think to a large degree Detroit. Remember, Detroit was always trying to pull that bullcrap, very unsuccessfully, I might say. But just makes me wonder if the Packers are trying to lean into that a little bit. And then we got Tyron Hopper now getting reps with the ones at linebacker instead of Simmons in team. Again, nothing surprising there. He's going to get his crack at that number 4 spot. But right now, at least today, who knows, maybe Tyron Hopper's been running it the whole time. At least today, Simmons is kind of the guy out in front of that. The note that nobody wants to hear, Wicks has one go right through his hands and Hadden picks it off. Nowhere near full speed here. Wicks still should have caught it. He's saying nowhere near full speed as though that's an excuse, and in my mind, that should make it easier. It's half speed, but still, you gotta catch it. No. It's half speed, therefore you absolutely should not be dropping passes. The heck are you doing? Not a great start. I know it's just a drop, but for a guy that has drop issues in half speed, and it got picked, not a great look. Hadden, the third outside cornerback today. So Hadden's kind of interesting. He's not the guy that anybody's looking at. I'm obviously looking at Kalen King. Kazir Brown is the jack 225-pound guy. But Hadden's the one that's getting the opportunities. Hadden's the one out there making plays. Keep an eye on this guy. Another note nobody likes, Tucker Kraft is not practicing right now. He went into the Hudson Center about 15-20 minutes ago and has not returned. Sims and Musgrave currently working with the ones. Not sure if it was injury-related or not. Kamal Hadden getting some key team reps with the ones with Hobbs absent. Willis hits a nice throw deep down the field to a wide-open Jaden Reed. Love with a gorgeous ball to Musgrave up the seam on 7-on-7s. That's the play the Packers would love to see a lot more from 88. Love with a pretty shot in the turkey hole to Dobbs, just clearing the outstretched arms of Kalen King. Pretty pass. You see what I'm saying? Like these things are just sneaking in there, but notice all the love notes. Just laser between defenders into Jaden Reed. Beautiful deep shot to Musgrave up the seam. Beautiful shot to Dobbs, just past the outstretched arms of Kalen King. Nice throw from Willis in 2 minutes across the middle, but newly added wide receiver Sam Brown can't bring it in. We got that whole thing here, actually, thanks to Mr. Herman. So here's the 2-minute drill. The twos are up first, so that's Willis's crew. Starts off 1:40 left, 1 timeout, 1st and 10, ball at their own 25, down 28-21. Willis at quarterback, Lucas Van Ness playing inside as a pass rusher. We heard that last week as well. Willis complete to Hardman, tough catch, clock ticks. Willis complete to Heath along the sideline, but clock ticks. Willis to Hardman, short, clock ticks. Belton and Sorrell battling. Belton at right tackle, fun matchup. Willis to Golden, complete and out of bounds, 39 seconds left. Willis pressured, rolls right, throws the ball away. Willis complete short right to C. Johnson, 4-yard gain, and clock ticks, timeout. That's Cornelius Johnson. I had to look it up. Don't worry about it. So we're at 28 seconds, down 7, ball on the 34, no timeouts. Willis with a bullet over the middle and super tight coverage, but Sam Brown, who drops it. Hell of a throw from QB2. 4th down, Colby Wooden knocks down the pass at the line. As the pocket collapsed around Willis, defense wins. So last week when they ran these drills, they were able to kick field goals, and they ended up kicking it. Now they're kind of pushing them a little bit. Okay, no more getting down close enough, and then we're going to just say, yeah, you got a field goal. You got to go down and finish and complete. From the 34-yard line on 4th down, that would have been a field goal in a different situation. Not this time. Unfortunately, Herman is real good with these. He didn't get it down for the ones. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but same situation for the ones. Love leads the team down the field and hits Jaden Reed for the touchdown deep down the field, who beat Kalen King, who's having a rough day, unfortunately. It was a handful of plays in, gorgeous ball from Jordan, offense goes for 2, Love to Dobbs, offense wins. So on top of this really good day from Jordan, you've got Jordan leading a drive down the field, then hits a 30-plus yard touchdown strike, and then they go for 2 and he throws to Dobbs for a 2-point conversion. A lot of talk about guys having good days or whatever. Jordan is freaking locked in right now. And this is the Jordan we need. This is money Jordan. Let me run through a couple of the notes because it's always fun going over these types of notes. Jordan Love masterclass to Jaden Reed for a touchdown to end the 2-minute drill with 34 seconds on the clock. 30-plus yard pass and double coverage, perfect placement. Oh, I just got chills. Whole Packers offense sideline ran to celebrate with Reed. That was pretty, even if it's June in OTAs. Jordan Love drops a dime to Jaden Reed on 2nd and 1 from the 30, capping 2-minute drill with a touchdown pass. Reed beat Packers cornerback Kalen King on a corner route. On the drive, Love completed 6 of 7 passes for 75 yards and a touchdown. My goodness. How's that for a 2-minute drill, huh? Then Love hits Dobbs for a 2-point conversion for the 29-28 lead. Complete the 2-point conversion with a slant to Dobbs, and offense celebrates. That's it for practice. Demovsky says, best play in the 2 OTAs we've been allowed in. Jordan Love with a perfect placement on a 30-yard teardrop to Jaden Reed for a touchdown over Kalen King in the 2-minute drill, followed by the winning 2-point play from Love to Dobbs. That's it for practice. Ryan Wood says Malik Willis was cooking in 2-minute drill, then Sam Brown dropped a slant for about 20 yards on 3rd and 5. Colby Wooden batted his 4th down pass. We heard that story. Schneidman says Jordan Love with a 30-yard dime touchdown to Jaden Reed at the end of 2-minute. Back right corner of the end zone over Kalen King and a nice catch in contested coverage. Love then hits Romeo Dobbs on a slant for a 2-point conversion and the win. Offense mobs Dobbs to end practice. I feel like Kalen King's kind of getting that. I'm not saying we have a Devontae out on the field. I'm not going to call this Rodgers to Devontae. But in terms of getting a good education and trying to push this guy forward a little bit, Kalen King I'm talking about, this has been multiple times that we've heard very tight coverage or just over the fingers. Like if Jordan isn't this locked in, he might have had 2-3 pass breakups and or a pick. Terrific throw from Love to Reed in back corner of the end zone for about 30 yards, dropped it over Reed's shoulder. Kalen King in coverage, very clean 2-minute drill from Love and offense. Ryan Wood with a little bit on Matthew Golden says Matthew Golden already making an impression, caught an 11-yard out from Malik Willis on second-team offense during 2-minute drill, bumped up to starters on the next 2-minute drill series and caught a 9-yard out from Jordan Love, 1 play before touchdown to Jaden Reed. What really stands out early is the same thing everyone who's coached Golden has said. Tremendous hands, looks like a natural receiving the football. So that's pretty cool. They put him in with the 2s and then real quick ran him over with the 1s to let him go play with Jordan. By the way, I love him on out routes. That's the Packers' bread and butter. I've said before, I don't know why they don't just run it every play. It's unstoppable. Nobody wants to cover it, or they don't know how, or some combination of both. Jordan and the receivers got that locked down. And I think Golden, I've seen him run some of these, and it's when I've watched it, I've just thought he could just do that all day in Green Bay. He's got good speed, but he's also got real shifty route running and good hands, and that's kind of what you're looking for, because it's going to be thrown ideally kind of out and away from you a little bit. So, I mean, that's going to be a bread and butter play for him and for this offense. And so for him to go out with the 2s, hit on the classic out route, and then go over with Jordan, hit on another one for a combined 20 yards on 2 plays, that's good stuff. Pete Doherty says Lucas Van Ness got a few reps as an inside rusher in 2-minute. Packers have talked about using him there in the last 2 years, but I'm not sure they'd actually ever done it. All right, let's take our final break. We've got the Matt LaFleur press conference and a couple notes from some of the players. And again, I want to get to some of the comparisons. Actually, we might even start with the comparisons and then we'll get into the rest of the stuff. Just a couple little notes that I had. We may have already talked about it, but I just want to make sure that we cover it. And that's about that. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so again, a couple of the changes. Brandon McManus was back. Tyron Herring was participating this time around. Kenny Clark, we'll get to that in a minute. Some new injury information on him. It's previous, not necessarily current, although he's not practicing right now. We got Hadden taking more snaps with the 1s. We got Simmons now taking snaps with the 1s. Morgan was left tackle / backup only the last time in the first OTAs. Now he's taking reps with the ones at left tackle, right guard, and maybe right tackle. It's in the notes, but I don't remember reading that in the tweets. Matthew Golden was punt returner 3 and only out there when they were doing 3 wide receiver sets. Now he's taking first team reps and 2-minute drills and all that stuff. By the way, if we look at, it's not really a change, but I've got the stats for Jordan Love in the first and this one. Jordan Love was 5 of 6 in technically day 2, but the first OTA that we were privy to. 5 of 6 in that, and then they got the field goal to win the game. And then this time around, 6 of 7, 75 yards and a touchdown, plus the 2-point conversion. Willis, both times around, the narrative is moved the ball well, but never finished on either in terms of touchdowns or anything. So those are kind of the changes, the updates, whatever. Getting into some of the press conference, I'm not going to play all this because as I've learned over however long, it's going to take all day if we actually play the audio and whatnot. So I'll just go through, continuing with some of the notes that are clipped out. On Matthew Golden, he says, I just like the approach, how he comes to work every day. He gives great effort. His attitude has been outstanding. He's still got a lot to learn. Talking about Lucas Van Ness playing on the inside, he says, situationally, you can do that. In known passing situations, there's some thought around that. A lot is going to be dependent on everyone else as well. It's a good point. In a perfect world or in a certain circumstance, you could see where it would be beneficial. However, if you're replacing him on the outside with somebody that's not very good, or potentially if the guys on the inside are already quite good, we don't need Van Ness there, you know what I mean? But it's something that they're very strongly considering. I know a lot of fans, when we drafted him, were insistent he's significantly better on the interior. I don't remember exactly who it was, but that was a big thing. They were kind of almost upset that he was primarily playing on the outside. But he goes on to say, Lucas has shown a lot of growth. Excited to see him once he has pads on. On Luke Musgrave, he says, I think he's another guy that I'm excited about. The whole key is we have to keep him on the field and keep him healthy. I think that's exactly right. He's very much, maybe to a lesser degree, but he's very much in that category of Christian Watson for me. We've seen the flashes. We've seen, the falling and all the tripping over himself isn't great, but he's absolutely shown the flashes. I remember his rookie year, at the end of the year, he was like our best player for 3-4 games or whatever, but he was really coming on strong. But having a hard time staying on the field, but I think the Packers, if he can do it, are going to have a lot of plans for him. On Zach Tom staying at right tackle, he says, I think that's the plan, absolutely. That's where he's found his home. But what's great about him is if you have to do something that, if you do have something that happens, it gives you flexibility up front. That's another thing people won't let go. I don't know why we can't let that go. Why do we have to move him all the time? Can you leave? I don't, for the life of me, I don't understand. Leave him alone. Well, he could be a left tackle. No, he's a right tackle. Well, he could play guard. Tackle. Right tackle. Leave the man alone. Every time we have something good, you guys want to mess with it. Stop messing with stuff. You're going to break it. Like that dad talking to his kids. Stop touching it. Stop touching stuff. You're going to break stuff. Get out of here. Matt LaFleur says it means a lot to him that Zach Tom has been present at voluntary OTAs when he could be sitting out until he gets a contract extension. Feels like a shot at some people. LaFleur on Romeo Doubs, he says, looks great out there. He's come in and he's just worked. Obviously, he's played a lot of snaps for us and had a lot of production. On Marshawn Lloyd, I'm really excited about the player. He's in a lot better spot. LaFleur said Lloyd had another injury pop up this offseason, but is in a better spot right now, as was evidenced by his practice participation today. Looks like that's about it for that. Again, some of the players kind of spoke to the media a little bit. Keyshawn Nixon said he is open to returning kicks if that's what coaches want. Team players wants ball when game is on the line. I think I am going to play this one. It's Ryan Wood again, which, as I've told you before, I don't know what the deal is with his recordings, but they're always kind of doubled up. But it's a solid quote for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's very genuine, coming from Romeo, who's kind of he's not disingenuous in any way, but he's just kind of a more reserved person. So to see him kind of emote a little bit as he talks about it is just kind of adds a little bit to it. But also there's all this drama about, they're so mad that Golden's there and everybody wants to rebel, and here is Romeo Doubs talking about Matthew Golden.
Along those lines, what have been your early impressions of Matthew Golden?
Oh, man, here's the stuff, man. Doesn't really say much. He just comes in and works. And, he has been real consistent in the area. So, if he has any questions for me, he comes to me. If he goes to Jake, he goes to Jake. He makes sure that he asks as many questions as he can, because, he is a rookie. And, man, kid's playing fast right now, so I'm excited to see what he does.
It's kind of hard to hear again. Romeo's very quiet, and there's somebody talking in the background, and the doubled up audio, the whole thing. But just the very beginning, what do you think of Matthew Golden? And he kind of takes a deep breath and is like, dude's a stud, man. Keyshawn Nixon, he's the cockiest guy in the world, and I appreciate it. Keyshawn Nixon thinks teams will still kick away from him despite touchbacks moving to the 35. He said teams would rather give the Packers the ball in the 35 than the 50 if they kick to him. I love that. Rashawn Gary told the media that the Packers defense has weekend meetings at Kenny Clark's house during the offseason to go over film. Guys who can't make it are zooming in. So love to hear that. Love to hear the mentality that they have and the leadership of guys like Kenny. I don't know who organized it necessarily, but the fact that Kenny is putting it out there and the guys are all following through and they understand the standard. This is how we handle things. This is what we do in the offseason. And then we get into Kenny Clark. Why don't I just let him speak on this one? Let's see. We have somebody other than Ryan Wood? I don't think so. But here's Kenny Clark kind of giving an insight into some of his injury struggles from the past year.
Yeah, it was on and off, honestly. Not good enough. Not good enough to win a championship, so we got to be better.
Kenny, you set the bar so high for yourself over your career here. When you went back this spring to reflect on last year, what did you think of the year that you had?
It was tough. It was a tough year for me. I had surgery on my foot in January. It was a tough year, but man, I'm excited. I'm back out practicing. Back doing Indy. So today was my second day doing Indy with the team, and I just got to keep building for it.
How much did the foot? How much did the foot affect you last year?
A lot. I heard it in the Brazil game. And then So.
What was the surgery? Did you have a screw put in? Or?
Nah, I had a bunion, bone spurs.
So, look, first of all, I'm not going to just completely give Kenny a pass, right? It's been several years that he hasn't quite been up to his standard, although last year was outside of even his slowly declining standard. So, as much as it looks like, okay, he kind of took a step back in, 2019 or whatever year it was, and then this past year completely fell off, well, we can maybe dismiss some of that and hope that he gets back to what he was maybe 2 years ago. Maybe even better than that with the new D-line coach and all that. But I'm willing to be open to it, but I also one of the problems every time somebody says they're hurt, the immediate reaction from everybody is, see, this is what happened, and actually he's elite, but he was hurt, and so you just couldn't see it. Do you know how many times we've heard people say, I was hurt last year? First of all, everybody was hurt last year. Some more extreme than others, but everybody was hurt last year. Do you know how often I've heard people say I was hurt last year and then they come back and then they dominate because they're not hurt? I can't think of a single time. This happens every year and we go, oh, maybe that's why the play isn't so good and now they're going to be really, really good. I can't think of a single time. Not really one. I mean, maybe there's times if you got like these great players and then they were, battling some injury and you saw a clear dip. But even that, I can't really think of times when that happened. But I can think of lots of times, going all the way back to, who was that? I don't think, it might have been Kevin. I know Kevin King was one of it. He was always battling injuries, and it's like, oh man, if he could just be healthy, maybe he could be da-da-da-da-da. And then he'd come back and he'd tell us about his injuries, and then and guess what? He never got better. Because he was injured and bad at football, right? What is his name? Demarius Randall. Same thing. I mean, Demarius Randall, I think he had a groin injury. And I remember doing the podcast and it was like it clicked, like, oh, a groin injury. Like he can't, like, cut real fast and do all this. Oh my God, he's going to be so good. And I looked like an idiot. Because guess what? He was hurt and bad. When guys that aren't performing very well come back the next year and say I was hurt, I'm not going to assume that you suddenly become better than you have been in the last 5 years. That doesn't make any sense. So if we want to say Kenny, we can expect from Kenny what we got in 2023, that's fine. And I know it was better than last year. Let's see what Kenny did. I think 2 years ago, his pass rush was actually quite good. Heck yeah. In fact, it was maybe the best of his career as far as total numbers. 66 pressures, which was the third highest of his career, and 10 sacks, which, based on PFF sacks, highest of his career. Now, the run defense has fallen off since 2020. And in 2018 was when it was premier, and then it fell off 2019, 2020, and then another big fall off. And he's been kind of like mid to high 50s for the last 4 years. The pass rush has kind of sustained a little bit. Similarly, 2018, 2019, that was his... That way, as far as his grades, he was up in the elite category. After that, 2020 fell off. But it was still down in the 70s, and it was 70, 70, 70, 70. This year, 62, it fell off. Right, so I'm fine saying Kenny this year is going to bounce back to 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020 in that range. Or maybe, 2021 to 2023. Which means tackling is bad, run defense not great, at least by these standards. I know, tape watchers, I'm so sorry. But the pass rush is there. 66 pressures on 556 attempts is a solid outing. That's 12%. That's Kenny Clark right there. 11.8705035971223. That's what he did. And I'm good with that. Give me that. Give me 12% pass rush and not horrific, average run defense. You give me that. Again, we can get into the whole, well, he's paid too much. Frickin' whatever. The contract is what it is. I'm just telling you my expectations for Kenny based on realistic expectations for Kenny Clark, who is finally going to crack 30, I think, this year. Guy's been on the team since I was 4, I think. But I tell you what, man, that Brazil game, that field condition was terrible, and it kind of screwed our whole season. You got Kenny Clark kind of getting taken off the radar. You got our quarterback getting jacked up. No more. I'm sorry, Brazilians. I love you guys. You're awesome. Fix your frickin' field. Zach Cruz even says that Friday in Brazil was a season-changing night for the 2024 Packers. I mean, really. Kenny and a quarterback, that'll do it. That'll frickin' derail the season right there. Matt Schneidman, talking to Zach Tom, says only Penei Sewell and Lane Johnson got more All-Pro votes than right tackle Zach Tom. Zach Tom says, I think when I'm at my best, I'm the best in the league, and I think he's probably right about that. Super under-the-radar, impressive guy. Kenny Clark on the Hangouts thing says, we're together all the time, why not watch film and get better while we're hanging out? Fair enough. Ryan Wood says, Lucas Van Ness played with a cast, protecting his broken thumb on his right hand until week 10 of last year. Even after the cast was removed, Van Ness said there was a mental block learning how to use his hands again. It's also worth noting, right? What did I say about Van? It's true about just about everybody, but what did I say about Van Ness? He was, through the first half of the season, one of the worst edge rushers in the NFL. The second half of the season, he might have been our best pass rusher. Lucas Van Ness says, the question was, how much did it affect you? He says, playing defensive line, it's all about your hands. He went on to ask Rashawn Gary how difficult it would be for an edge rusher playing with a broken thumb. His answer might help explain Lucas Van Ness's challenge last season and what teammates think of what he did last year. He said, he's a dog, man. That just shows you not being able because your hands are our everything as a defensive lineman. If you don't have these, you don't have nothing. Playing with 9 instead of 10 fingers, going against people 330, 350 pounds, it's a hard job. That just shows you his grit, his hunger for the game, and how much he cares about this team and this organization. I'm fired up, dude. I can't do this right now, man. I need the season to start. I don't even want to talk about it. Everyone's going to be healthy and everyone's going to be awesome. We're going to win the frickin' Super Bowl. How about that? Okay? Keyshawn Nixon said today that second-year cornerback Kamal Hadden is playing outstanding at Packers OTAs. Again, keep an eye on that dude. Green Bay Packers are America's team. Dallas Cowboys are Gulf of America's team. Cheesehead TV Patreon happy hour member said that. That's funny. I think we should end on that. That's freaking hilarious. Packers are America's team. Dallas are the Gulf of America's team. That's a good one. That is a good one. All right. I think we're about caught up on all the quotes and whatnot anyways, so why don't we get out of here? Feels good to see the boys out there. Everybody's healthy and feeling good and doing their thing. We got some work to do for the next several weeks, but feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. We're going to talk some trash. This Cam guy's out here just posting more and more about... He is just an absolute troll. J.J. McCarthy capped off his insane OTAs with his 37th touchdown. Insane OTAs. He surpassed... Hold on. He says he surpassed Tom Brady for most OTA touchdowns in a single season. The Vikings have an elite quarterback. This guy's funny. I'm not going to lie. For a ridiculous troll, he's doing a good job. Well done. Well done. Surpassed Tom Brady for most OTA touchdowns in a single season. That's good. That's good. All right, let's get out of here. You guys have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.